the Starbucks cold brew you love is now available in a can. It's so good, you'll believe that too good to be true can be true. Like finding out that you and your crush have been listening to the same playlist on repeat. With the smooth taste of Starbucks cold brew in a can, sipping is believing. Available in 3 delicious flavors. Shop now wherever you buy groceries. Click or tap the banner to learn more.
Dr. Homebrew is brought to you by 5 Star Chemicals, providing safety and cleaning supplies for brewing, distilling, and winemaking at 5starchemicals.com.
Doctor, look!
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Stand clear.
All right, everybody, welcome to another fine episode of Dr. Homebrew. We're just here hanging out in the studio, drinking some beers, and looking forward to talking with the brewers of those beers. In case you haven't heard of Dr. Homebrew before, it's no shock. Well, maybe it is, because it's the best show on the Brewing Network, besides Lunch Meat, maybe. But here's the rundown. What we do is you send us some beers, and then we judge them for you. And we call you up and talk about those beers and give you little tips and tricks about how to make a little better beer, or, dial it into what you want to do. So the people who do that, it is not me, of course. My name is JP, and I am a BJCP judge, but I'm like a armchair BJCP judge, where I kind of know what's going on, but I just... let everybody else do it.
You're a real judge, dude.
I am a real judge. That's right.
You're certified, right?
But I just sit. I think I'm recognized. Well, whatever the lowest one is.
You're a certified judge.
I did it. No one can take that away from me.
Passed.
That's right. I did pass.
Tough test to pass.
It is. It is pretty difficult, especially when you're a doofus like I am.
Yeah, you never know. A few years of the show, they might take it away from you.
They'll give him an honorary Grand Master just for hosting the show.
Oh, I think they should. And I can just sit in judgment of everybody. The voices you hear are my handsome co-hosts, Brian and Lee. They, of course, are not Grandmaster. They are Master BJCP judges, meaning they know just a little bit about what they're talking about. And these are the guys who give you the proper feedback. I just facilitate it. But, of course, none of this could happen without our lovely sponsor, 5 Star. You can go to 5starchemicals.com. If you're unfamiliar with 5 Star, they make those good products called PBW and Star San and Sanny Clean.
I like Star San.
I like Star San, too. Don't fear the foam, is what they say.
Yeah, you just work with it.
It's a good time. If you're unfamiliar, if you're still using Iota 4, you need just put the bottle down and back away slowly. Then go online to one of our other fine sponsors and buy some 5 Star product, buy some Star San, buy some PBW, just buy it all, buy lots of it.
So I just, when I'm using Star San, I just siphon it out of my, fermenter, and you don't have any foam at all. And then that last little bit, you can just kind of swirl it and get it out. Yeah. No foam. And leaving a little bit in there is fine. It's a rinse-free agent.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. What I do when I sanitize my conical is I'll fill a squirt bottle with that Star San, and then over the next week or whatever, when I'm taking samples, I can spray different kinds of things. Yeah. And it's really handy. It lasts a long time. It's a real good value. So check them out, 5starchemicals.com. Also at your favorite local homebrew store. Something, I don't know, whatever.
The squirt bottles Star San are great. You can clean the cat while you chase him from scratching your couch to shreds, too.
That's right.
Squirt the tops of all your connectors and whatever, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good product. So check them out, 5 Star, everybody. We love them. We know you'll love them, too. Okay, so today we have a couple beers to try. We have a pale ale with Mosaic hops, which is kind of a relatively new hop on the scene, and I'm curious to check this out. And then the other one, we have a Bourbon Barrel-aged stout. Another one I'm excited to... It's one thing about the show. We keep getting beers that I keep looking forward to drinking. And they haven't disappointed so far. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little break, and I'm going to get our first guest on the phone. His name is Matt. I know we're keeping up keeping him up a little late. So
Matt's a sport.
Matt's a good sport. He's on the East Coast, and when I book the shows for the interviews, I try to get everybody in a time slot that we can work with. But I think this show we have 4 folks on the East Coast or something like that. So it's just I don't know. So I apologize, Matt, but we'll get you up and running here in a sec. Everyone stay tuned. It's Dr. Homebrew. See you on the other side of this break.
The Starbucks cold brew you love is now available in a can. It's so good you'll believe that too good to be true can be true. Like finding out that you and your crush have been listening to the same playlist on repeat. With the smooth taste of Starbucks cold brew in a can, sipping is believing. Available in 3 delicious flavors. Shop now wherever you buy groceries. Click or tap the banner to learn more.
Do you know the 3 most important rules in brewing? Sanitation, sanitation, and sanitation. And no one does it better than 5-Star Chemicals. 5-Star knows sanitation. You can only sanitize clean equipment. And 5-Star knows how to clean, too. For craft brewers and home brewers, 5-Star has what you need to keep your fermenters, serving tanks, kegs, and draft lines sparkling and free of any beer-spoiling bacteria. PBW, caustic, acid cleaners, Star San, SanaClean, lubricants and defoamers, pH stabilizers, and more. 5-Star Chemicals has cleaning supplies, safety supplies, heat exchangers, pumps, hoses, and valves. And 5-Star is proud to offer eco-friendly products that exceed customer expectations. If you have a cleaning problem, you need the 5-Star solution. Visit 5starchemicals.com or call 800-782-7019. 800-782-7019 and get the 5-Star treatment today. Where do you go for all the stuff you need to brew? Homebrewstuff.com, of course. In their Boise, Idaho storefront and warehouse, they have more than 750 craft beers and 8,000 square feet of homebrew products in stock. The staff at Homebrew Stuff are homebrewers themselves. They try out just about everything, including the beer, so they can answer your questions knowledgeably and correctly about brewing, kegging, and anything else you might need to ask. Don't live near the Homebrew Stuff store? Visit homebrewstuff.com online and take advantage of their $7.95 domestic shipping available on most orders. Homebrewstuff.com is a proud sponsor of the AHA, NHC, GABF, and countless other acronyms. So if you're a homebrewer looking for great people, a great selection, and great deals, head to homebrewstuff.com, online or in person. Visit their YouTube channel for loads of free how-to and product videos. All of the stuff you need to brew. Homebrewstuff.com.
Dr. Homebrew, please report to the ER for code blue. Dr. Homebrew to the ER, please. Oh, and your tea time has been moved to 2:30.
Now back to Dr. Homebrew.
All right, it is Dr. Homebrew, and it's another fine evening here in lovely, lovely Martinez, California, or as I like to say, home of the roving Martian, which is typically what happens here. When the sun goes down, the kooks come out to play, and we lock all of our doors.
And here we are.
Yeah, here we are. We're ready for it. We're looking for everybody. On the line, I have Matt. Matt, are you with us, buddy?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. Sorry to keep you up so late, brother. I apologize.
No worries.
But thanks for sticking with it. So what do we have here? Tell me a little bit about your beer.
Basically, it should be in the specialty category instead of being in a pale ale category. As you can tell, it's pretty light in color. Basically, just wanted something that would showcase the Mosaic hops, because I've never had it before. And I think it does a pretty good job of that. And also really wanted to use just one grain on it, and it was the new Golden Pills, Vienna Golden Pills malt that came out, and I was curious to see what that was about. So it's about the second time I've brewed it, and just kind of wanted to get some feedback on it.
Who makes that Golden Pills?
It's Briggs.
Okay. Shocking. I mean,
I think it came out last year. It just came out last year. It was very, very new.
Okay. All right. Great. And how long have you been homebrewing?
About 3 years.
3 years, okay. And I take it from your comments, this is the first time you've done something like this with that new malt and showcasing these hops?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually.
And what do you want to get out of this? Do you just want to learn, how to dial this into a particular style, or to showcase the hops a little bit more? What are you looking for?
Really just trying to get some feedback, just some criticism on it. Not really trying to lock it into any specific style. Just really wanted to make something that was easy to drink, light in alcohol, on more beer style thing. But I really like hops, so I wanted something to punch me in the face.
Yeah, that's kind of my thing too. I like hops, but I don't like the alcohol that goes with them. So,
well, you do.
I do. Well, I do, but I don't want to. My doctor listens to this. So, all right, Lee, why don't you start this off,
right
man?
Here.
What do you,
yeah. Hey, can we get the foam cam on this?
Oh yeah,
it's a really. This beer has got a head that just doesn't quit. I mean, it slowly quits, but it's just nice and moussey, and it leaves lace, and it's a really pretty head. Really nice foam on this beer. Whatever that Golden Pils malt is, it is doing a great job there. And that's the sort of thing actually you'd expect from a Pils malt. Actually, they usually do well for leaving a nice foam stand behind. So this beer, Pale Session Ale, actually it's the kind of style I like. I've made a lot of these myself. Low alcohol or lower alcohol, hoppy, sort of, throttled down IPA sort of things. I really like them for exactly the reasons Jason was saying. You can just keep drinking them, keep enjoying those hops, not falling over, and go all day in a nice hot Saturday with a nice barbecue going, and it's just a really fun beer to have. So what did we think of this one, though? A lot of hop character, just like you'd expect. With some Mosaic hops, we're picking up a lot of tropical fruit in here, some mango, also some lemon along with this, a little bit of a piney hint, a little bit of that kind of berry character you get out of this. Not a whole lot of malt aroma in this, just some sort of nice, subtle, maybe lightly bready hints. The yeast character, at least in the aroma, seemed pretty clean. Is a bit yeasty, and that probably goes along with the fact, and you may have noticed this in the, I don't know how well that camera showed it, the beer is quite hazy, too.
Oh, these are high-def cameras.
These are high-def cameras?
Well, maybe not high-def.
So you can actually see individual yeast cells floating around in there if they're in there?
You don't need a microscope. You just need to hold it up to one of these webcams. And
it can do a yeast count?
Yeah,
awesome.
sure.
I got to get one of these at home.
85 billion.
Yeah, 85 billion.
Yeah. Cells
or dollars?
Well, cells.
Yeah.
The math's off. Pixels.
Right. So, yeah, nice hoppy nose. That really worked very well in this beer. It poured this great, nice, fluffy white head. It was kind of hazy, pale gold. It fit pretty much exactly with what you had said it should look like, probably, although I don't know if you had intended that much haze in there. The flavor, again, you get the lemon and the mango. It was kind of tart with almost a carbonic edge to it, sort of like a lot of CO2 kind of acidity. It was a bit, again, the same sort of flavors from the hops, lemon and mango, a little bit of blueberry. That came through a little bit more here. Mosaic's kind of known for that kind of a flavor. And a little bit of a bready flavor from the malt, sort of a light bread crust kind of flavor. It was pretty nice. The ferment seemed mostly pretty clean. There was no off flavors, no diacetyl, anything like that, no real evidence of contamination, despite that little bit of tartness in there. It had enough malt, I think, to make the balance work. It's sometimes the challenge is doing these little session beers. If you make them, low gravity and high IBUs and go for a dry beer, you might end up with a lot of people just kind of call hop tea, and it's just kind of bitter and not that pleasant. I think you skirted the border on that on the right side here. It is pretty dry and light, but I think it's got enough malt character, and the creaminess really helps to keep it away from just being, kind of hop tea in my mind. Low body, fairly high carbonation, nice creaminess, not alcoholic or astringent. A little bit of a burn in the finish, but it didn't seem alcoholic. I think it was more that acidity coming through again, which is sort of the key point in me for this beer. I have a question about this. When did you brew this?
Oh, that's the thing. It was kind of rushed around a little bit to make sure it would make it to the show on time. I think it was brewed. The date on the recipe is
June 7th.
The 7th of January or June.
7th of June. Well, that's actually a fair ways back.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah. Huh, interesting. So, the thing, though, is getting me is a little bit odd in this beer between the haze and that sort of tart acidity, which almost seems carbonic. It wasn't like lactic or acetic or any contamination like that or citric sort of flavor. It almost made me wondering if the beer was still fermenting a bit. It had just a touch of that character I get when I taste a wort that's still fermenting. It gets really tingly on your tongue. It didn't seem quite tingly, but it just had that kind of bite that you get from carbonic acid. And maybe it's just because it's very highly carbonated and a light beer.
Yeah.
But I was kind of wondering if this beer might not have completely fermented out, and it was still got a little bit of activity going on in there.
Looking at the recipe here too, he does have some a couple ounces of acidulated Weyermann malt in there. So
a couple ounces? Well, yeah,
a couple ounces. This is not going to do too much, but
yeah. Well, depending on what your starting water's like, that might be about what you need for a beer like this color.
What would that have done for a beer like this?
With a pale malt and a fairly fairly mineral-free water, it'll bring the pH down to where you need it to be. I mean, it's the sort of thing I'd throw in with the water around here to make a Pils or a very pale ale, or a Heffa.
Okay.
I'd use that. I don't know what the water's like where Matt is, so if he's got slightly harder water, he might need more of that. If he's got softer, he might not need it at all. Although, actually, for a beer this pale, it's probably a good idea. It's a good way to acidulate it without having to throw a lot of mineral in there.
Mm-hmm.
I know. What's your water like down there, Matt?
Yeah, you're pretty right on. I may need to bump that up just a little bit. The carbonation that you might be getting is I filled the bottles from the tap, so I had to juice it up just a little bit to make sure that it wasn't undercarbonated when it made it to you guys. I mean, it left Georgia and made it all the way to California, and I'm surprised it held up as well as it did.
Right. Oh yeah. There's no shortage of gas in this beer. Well, maybe that's all we're picking up then. Have you had your beer there stored at like a garage temp? Well, I don't know what your garage temperature is there. Sort of a cellar temperature at all? Has it settled out and clarified at all?
Mine is in the keg, sitting in a kegerator, sitting at about 40 degrees, and to tell you the truth, I have none of it left. I had to save a bottle so I could just do this show with you guys.
Right. Well, that does tend to. That's what these beers are made for. They're not made to hang around at all.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Did you dry hop this guy? I didn't see the recipe until just a minute.
It is dry hopped with an ounce of pellets in the actual conical and not in a sack or anything. So you may be seeing a little bit of hot dust in there too or something. I don't know.
Well, I've noticed this in beers that I've made with Pils malts and that I've dry hopped. They are really prone to haze.
Huh.
I've not read anything about this, and maybe I just haven't read widely enough on the subject, but I've done several beers that are not too different from this, and they almost always get hazy when I dry hop them. So that might be a cause of that. I'm not sure. I mean, it might be worth, not dry hopping one or taking a quart or two off before you dry hop it and set it aside and see what happens just as an experiment. I should do that myself, I guess, having said it. It is a pretty decent beer. I really like the style. I think you've executed it pretty well. That sort of acidity and maybe it's just overcarbonation as opposed to a yeast problem kind of set me back because it had this kind of weird tingling thing to it. So I kind of scored down for that. I actually gave it a 28. But, if you throttled back the carbonation a bit and if that's all it was an overpressure, I'd probably put this up in the low to mid-30s. It's a very drinkable beer. It's really nice. I like it.
Brian, you're next, buddy.
Yeah, well, very thorough analysis there, Lee. Yeah, Matt, good beer. I really, in the aroma initially, the hop comes right through, and it's a pleasant, a nice high tropical and mango-like hop. And then when we're retasting it again after the judging, I got kind of a pine tree note in there. I do see you put in some Simcoe too after I picked that out. That makes sense. So and some underneath that there is kind of a little bready, yeasty aroma. But it's fresh and it's not unpleasant. It's maybe not really appropriate for an American pale ale if you judged it by that, which we kind of did because we had to put it somewhere. But JP's not very organized.
I'm not very organized. I don't even know where I am right now.
And I would say too, if it was judged as a specialty or something, it would score even higher. But fruity esters are medium, no DMS or diacetyl or any real bad flaws in there, just a little yeastiness popping up. Pretty hazy, kind of an orangey, yellowy color, and the head stuck around pretty well, and mostly fine bubbles. And it was you did a nice job of balancing the bitterness with the beer. It was only mildly bitter, and let everything the flavors come through. But yeah, I'm getting a lot of citrusy kind of flavors in here, and a kind of an orange Julius kind of impression almost.
Oh, yeah.
You remember those? Yeah. And it's with the kind of milkiness you get from the yeasty element in this, and the big bright lemony and tropical hops in there. It's pretty cool and interesting that way. I've never had a beer quite like this. It's big esters, and the balance is to the hops. Definitely, the malt is just kind of low and supporting, and a little kind of bready, lightly toasty. Finishes. The impression of the finish is that it's semi-sweet, but it's probably kind of medium to probably dry, because it's just the fruitiness gives me the impression of sweetness sometimes, and you have to.
Okay. Yeah, I see.
You have to try to judge those separately. It's not finishing super dry though. There's something there,
but
gravity.
You're thinking it's not just from the flavor of the hops. There is a little sweetness.
I think there is. Yeah. What did it finish at, Matt? We always get this wrong too.
Actually dropped out at 112.
10-12. So for a beer that starts at 10:43, that's pretty substantial. A semi-sweet kind of finish for that. I would say, just looking at the numbers, and it works. It does give that impression, and with the acidity and the little bite from that, it gives a little extra. Whoop. But yeah.
Well, for 10-12, it doesn't taste like a 10-12 beer.
Yeah,
it tastes a little drier, right?
Yeah, and it's fairly smooth in the mouthfeel. It's not astringent. The carbonation is pushing up there a bit, and you get a little prickliness from that. And there's not much to hide behind. Lighter beer that can really a lighter beer can tolerate. Like a Coors Light, say, that's highly carbonated, and they can get away with it because there's not much else going on there. But that the Coors Light doesn't have the kind of acidity and the fruity elements that this has. So the combination of the carbonation with that is pretty interesting. And it's not harsh or anything. It's just something I've never had. But yeah, nicely brewed, session-y, single malt and a couple of mostly Mosaic hop beer. It really does showcase that quality. You could, along with the Simcoe, you could probably blend in some other hops to give it a little more complexity, or you could just try one with straight Mosaic and see how that comes out. But I think figuring out a way to clarify this beer is going to make it a totally different beer too, and it might, with the use of finings, either kettle finings if you're not already using them, some Whirlflock or whatever, and or post ferment, adding some gelatin or polyclar or what have you, or filtering the beer even. It would be a totally different beer without that bready yeasty element. And I don't know if do you think it would be better or worse, Lee? I think it would. With an American Pale Ale, you definitely don't want too much yeast in a beer like that. You don't want it to look like a Weizen or taste like a bready beer. So for bringing it to a Pale Ale style, it would help it there. But I think it works this way too. It's a cool beer.
Yeah, I mean, for you don't want a lot of yeast and suspension for Pale Ale. That's kind of the wrong flavor for the beer. If it's just some sort of chill haze, that's really not going to have a huge impact on flavor. But it'd be prettier to get rid of it. Some fining, some polyclar, or some biofine, or Irish. No, it's too late for Irish moss if it's coming from dry hoppings. Maybe some what's the stuff I'm thinking of? The isinglass. Those things should all work. Yeah, you want a little fish product in your beer. Any of those should work to get rid of that. They'd be worth a try. If it's the same thing that I've seen coming from dry hopping and Pils malts, it might actually be hard to get rid of it with a filter. I've tried that a few times and had partial success at best.
So it's probably a combination of hop haze and some yeast in there. But hey, were these bottle conditioned or were they? They were from a keg. Yeah, that's right.
I did use Irish malts in it, so
yeah.
But if it's something that's coming out of the hops in the dry hopping interacting, it's so far after the Irish moss is all done and gone home. That's not going to impact that.
Right, because that's all that just drops out from the boil.
Yeah, its action's done at that point.
I gave it a 26 though, and if judged as a specialty, it would definitely score a little higher, probably in the 30s. And we probably should have judged as a specialty. So again, just blame JP. It's okay.
Hey, I told you exactly what it was. Can't blame me for this one.
He did. Okay.
We'll blame him anyways.
Yeah, I probably would. Well, Matt, do you have any questions for the guys based on that glorious feedback?
No, actually, I don't. That's what I was looking for. Like I said, it was just something that I came up with to try to get an idea of what those two ingredients would be. and it doesn't stick around much when I brew it, so I enjoy it quite a bit. Thanks for the feedback. I do appreciate that.
Sounds like a new house beer for you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
say too,
these things are good for that.
Yeah. And thanks for staying awake for us, man. That's
no worries.
Hope you were able to enjoy a few beers tonight, but definitely, drunk dialing is definitely a Eastern time zone sport. If you can wake up your friend on the West Coast out of a dead sleep, or even in Hawaii, I suppose, you're doing something right.
You're doing all right. All right, Matt. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it, buddy.
All right, guys. Thank you.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
That was nice. That was a good beer. I really enjoyed that beer.
I like it for what it is. It's a tasty beer. There's a lot going on, and it does showcase the hop nicely.
Yeah. Mission accomplished.
Yeah, no, I really liked it. It's very drinkable, very tasty. And part of the reason it tends to get scored down is it doesn't shoehorn into any style really very well.
Yeah.
So you throw that in, it's not quite anything, and it's got a haze thing, and it's a little tart, and it just hurts it. But all that said, I've brewed beers very like this probably a dozen times over the last several years, and those kegs don't last long.
No,
they just
don't.
go right away.
It's almost like shit. I don't want to brew it again because it's so much effort for 3 weeks of enjoyment.
Stop me before I brew this again. Yeah.
Yep.
I like it so much.
Gets up to 100 degrees, and pretty soon you're blowing it like that. Oops.
Yeah, you are. All right, we're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we're going to have Curtis on the line with the Bourbon Barrel-aged stout. I can't wait for this guy. Stay tuned, everybody. It's Dr. Homebrew.
Hey, dude, you know what beer this is?
No, all the labels are falling off.
Yeah, or the ink is run.
Well, if it's a pale ale, you're good, but stay away from the quote-unquote Belgian.
Oh, man, this guy needs to get some grog tags.
Grog tags are reusable, write-on, wipe-off, commercial-grade bottle labels for your brew. The guys at Grog Tag are homebrewers. They wanted great-looking, sturdy labels for your bottles, buckets, carboys, kegs, and growlers. They also wanted a label that not only looks good, but can be easily removed and reapplied during bottling without that nasty glue residue being left behind. No residue, water-resistant, and ice chest approved. Grog tags stay on in water or an ice chest, and they stay legible. Visit grogtag.com to customize your label or coaster from dozens of different templates for free and see how awesome your bottles can look.
It's that pseudo-Belgian.
Yeah, we're getting him some grog tags, dude.
Grog Tag. At least your beer will look good. grogtag.com. Are you a member of the American Homebrewers Association? Well, you should be. Members of the AHA can focus on brewing beer, and the AHA takes care of the rest. The American Homebrewers Association advocates on behalf of homebrewers like you to legalize the hobby in all 50 states and make sure that beer laws make sense. Plus, there are many great benefits that come with your AHA membership, like AHA member deals that give you awesome deals at bars, restaurants, breweries, and more. Zymergy Magazine and Zymergy for tons of articles, how-tos, easy-to-follow recipes, and news about the hobby you love, and access to the members-only content on homebrewersassociation.org. But the AHA can't do it without your support. Join today so the American Homebrewers Association can keep fighting for your homebrewing rights. Visit homebrewersassociation.org or join now from the homepage of the Brewing Network website. Relax. Don't worry. It's the American Homebrewers Association.
This Mosaic Pale Ale from Rebel Brewer is delicious.
Yes, I enjoy it too.
Wait, did you hear that? It sounds like a velociraptor.
Why would a velociraptor be here? That doesn't make any sense.
He's going for my beer.
I'll stop him.
It looks like our frightening friend just has a thing for Rebel Brewer hoppy beers.
RebelBrewer.com has the largest selection of grains on the planet. And if you order before noon, most orders will ship the same day. 2/3 of the country gets their orders in 2 days or less. Rebel Brewer, the velociraptor of homebrew shops. Why wait? Quick, flexible, speedy, fast, not slow, and fast, and speedy.
Visit rebelbrewer.com today. Or I'll rip your face off.
Oh, and he'll totally do it too.
Visit today at rebelbrewer.com. Now, back to the examination.
right, welcome back. It's Dr. Homebrew, everybody. I think we really should do an a cappella version of this. Bo-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And you can go, and it would be amazing. On the phone, we have my close personal friend, Curtis. Curtis, are you with us, buddy?
Yes, sir.
All right, how you doing, man?
Doing well. How are you?
Perfect. After having these beers.
Yeah.
I'm drinking a Coors Light. I didn't want to.
Curtis, are you also in the Eastern time zone?
No, I'm in Houston, Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mountain?
Close enough.
Yeah, something like that.
Cool.
All right, so you've sent us 2 beers. The beer that we judged, or the guys judged, rather, is the Bourbon Barrel Stout. And then you sent us that base stout as well.
Yes.
That's very interesting. So I think we'll talk about the Bourbon Barrel Stout first, and then jump into the differences and what that barrel kind of did to your beer.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you sent that along. At first I was like, I don't know if we'll have time, but after tasting it, there's obviously there's differences, but it's cool to see the evolution of the beer. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But first, how long have you been homebrewing, man?
It's been about 2.5 years now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Are you doing all grain, I imagine?
I started out with mini mash kits and moved on to all grain.
Oh, you didn't even funk around with all that extract steeping stuff.
No, yeah, I'm an engineer, so I was kind of wanting to get into all the details of it. So,
what is it about you engineers that like homebrewing so much?
I don't know, just figuring stuff out, I guess.
Brian's taking notes and he writes down engineer.
A lot of the guys in our club are engineers.
That's right.
Mad Zymergists. There's
everyone.
A lot of lab folks and techies and
lots of lab
crazy.
Rats. Yeah, for sure. Is this the first time that you've brewed this beer, or is
yes.
this? It is really okay.
Yeah, I was starting to pick up on a blog called Mad Fermentationist. Started kind of emailing with him. I got a connection over at Balcones to pick up some barrels, and I was like, well, crap, now I got to start filling these things so I can start doing sours, but I don't want it to taste like a bunch of bourbon, at least this time around for the sours.
Yeah, that'd be terrible.
Yeah, I know. So I started doing some stouts and did a wee heavy in parallel with this one too. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool. How did you come up with a recipe for this?
Well, I checked out his... actually, down here in Texas, we only recently got Founders. So when I brewed this, we didn't have Founders. And I knew that a friend of mine traded with me, got me a breakfast stout. I liked that. And so I started looking around for a recipe for it and started emailing Mad Fermentationist and asking him what he thought would be good to barrel age. I did a Stone Russian Imperial Stout before this and split that half and half with Belgian yeast and non, and wanted to go on to something different. So this was the breakfast stout recipe. What I sent you guys was with no coffee. So I felt like the coffee covered up too much of what I didn't like about the beer. So I didn't want to get that one judged.
Okay. All right. Very good. Well, let's get right into this. Brian, what do you think? I choose you.
The Bourbon Barrel-aged beer. Okay, we're tasting that.
Yeah.
And we just started tasting the other one too, so we'll have some comments about that as well. But yeah, I really liked the aroma on this beer. It had a nice, smooth, but fairly subdued kind of roasty richness, and definite bit of oak character in there, and very very low bourbon aromas, just really in check. And it's easy to overdo the booze on these kind of beers, so that's nice. But it was almost absent, but it's there. It's just there's
the second use of the barrel.
Yeah, there's just enough to get
some Buffalo Trace, but
okay, yeah, did a little reboozing. That's always a good idea if you're going for that. But yeah, so yeah, I got a little kind of a funky note in there, a little kind of hay-like, or I thought there were some hints of some Brettanomyces activity in there, but not overpowering, just a hint of that, and no real hops noted or anything in there. It's a malty beer with a barrel age to it, and the fruity esters are in line with the other elements. You got some vanillins from the barrel, nice low note of that, and it was a beautiful beer. It's a deep jet black beer with head that stuck around for a little while. It's very fine mousse-like kind of whipped cream, chocolate whipped cream maybe, bubbles in it. So the foam cam. Whoosh.
Put up the foam cam.
Yeah.
Pour here.
Foam cam.
Foam cam.
So yeah, the base beer on this seems to be, we weren't really told what kind of stout it was, and the breakfast stout thing is interesting, so that's cool. Is that more like a cream stout, or what is a breakfast stout kind of classified as? There's no BJCP thing for a breakfast stout, so I don't generally drink stout.
When I started looking it up, it came into a specialized category. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that I don't know enough about.
That's just the beer's name, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Founder's Breakfast. That has coffee in it, but I think it's an imperial stout.
It's an imperial coffee stout.
Got it.
Good for breakfast.
But it usually carries into it. It's got flaked oats in there. So this came with a pound, like 1.1 2/3 pounds flaked oats.
Okay. Yeah,
so I think those are the two big characteristics: coffee and oatmeal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We were talking about the base beer and guessing at what it might be, and it seemed like leaning towards imperial, but it wasn't like over the top, in your face American imperial kind of thing. Yeah, it was just kind of a mellow, like, in between an American stout and an imperial stout, without so many hops as you get in either of those, I guess. But so there seemed to be a little lactic sour note creeping up in the flavor, within the barrel character there, and the flavor. The malts are pretty strong and clean, and it's kind of hiding behind some of the other elements there. It's roasty, but this one was interesting for me to judge in the flavor. It was the little sour note threw me off a little bit, and there wasn't much booze at all in the flavor either. It's just kind of a sour, kind of lightly roasty aftertaste in the beer. It's a good tasting beer, but I guess I either expected the stout to be a little bigger and a little more booze to balance it out, and a little more oak character. The oak character is really light in this, but yeah, it's tasty, and it's subdued, and it's understated, and I like that about it too. So that part was hard for me to judge. Lee might do a better job than I did.
It was in the barrel for coming up on 3 months.
Wow.
Something like that. So.
What size barrel?
But again, it was second use. So
30 gallon.
No, it's a 5-gallon barrel.
5 gallon.
Yeah.
5 gallon.
That's a good amount of contact time. Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely there. It's just understated and subdued, and we can talk about balance, and that's an important element in beer for sure. So, kind of a medium low carbonation, which worked for the beer. No real astringency. It was kind of lightly creamy. There's definitely a bit of alcohol warmth in this coming through. Kind of medium to medium full bodied, and the mouthfeel was pleasant for the beer. It was light, kind of like the other elements of it. So yeah, it seemed almost like an imperial stout. And the overall impression of the score sheet, I thought the souring could be lightened. This, sour can be a background note in these beers, and in a wood-aged beer, but should be in harmony with all the other elements and kind of hidden behind them. I think it was kind of coming out over the top a little bit more in the overall impression of the beer. Yeah. And it needs a little more booze, and I don't say that lightly because I really don't like beers that go too heavy on the booze. So
agreed. It kills it.
Rebooze your barrel a little more, or do what you want with it. Don't mention the bourbon, and people will just drink it and say, "Hey, that's a damn good beer." It's a really tasty and unique beer. I would maybe use the barrel to try it. You sound like you might be leaning toward making some sours.
Yeah. That was the purpose that I picked them up for. So
it might be time to start that, or you could pump up the ABV even a little bit more and rebooze the barrel just a little bit more, and even a little more contact time, or even add some fresh oak chips if you want to get a little more oak character, and different toasts, experiment with different toasts of the... I haven't done too many oak-aged beers myself, but I've done some oak aging on meads, and, with those, I don't have a barrel, but I just did, a week of contact time with a couple ounces of wood chips, I think it was. But hey, that oak popped right up there. You can adjust that, even if you have it in the barrel for 3 months and you decide, that oak's not quite right. A few days with some oak and just taste it every day until it's right where you want it. And I don't know. What's your opinion on adding booze to beer, JP? Should booze be added straight to beer?
I don't know that. I think you get different flavors.
Yeah.
If you're getting the booze from the oak, that's different than the booze that you're going to get from the bottle. Let's say maybe, especially if it's a filtered booze, and which I imagine a lot of it would be. I don't know. I think it would be different.
I would think it would start to taste kind of artificially boozy and start to annoy me. So yeah. If you did anything like that,
they age oak chips in some bourbon, and it really carried along nicely. But they aged it for like a year.
That would be the way to do it then. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, nice beer. I gave it a 35. I thought it was a very pleasant beer, just and subdued and nicely balanced. Just a couple little things in it that. Yeah,
that was
interesting.
Ultimately the reason I chose it to send in, and the reason I chose it the non coffee aged or coffee aged version to send in. I just didn't want to cover up the flaws in the beer, and why
you're just holding out on us. I bet the coffee's really nice with this beer. I bet.
Actually, would have liked all three of them. The base beer, this beer, and then the one with a coffee added. I think that would have been a cool.
And a bottle of Millennium.
Send us more beer and more booze, Curtis.
The trick with that was that my wife's pregnant, and she helped me bottle the coffee version, and she told me I couldn't give away any more of it because it smelled so good. So I'm saving a case of that for her. So.
Oh, you get a buy on that then.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I was right on the edge of sending it, but it was like, I know she's
not worth it.
She's not down with that. So
cool.
All right, Lee.
Maybe on the next one.
Yeah, good.
What do I think? I really like this beer. I thought it was very interesting in a lot of ways. Its balance seemed to be almost more like an English Imperial Stout. It wasn't a big hoppy alcohol bomb like a lot of the American ones are. It was more subtle and more balanced. There was a lot of esters in here. And I got a lot of kind of cherry and berry in the nose and fig in the finish, which is very nice. A lot of deep chocolate aromas and flavors with a hint of some of the higher lava bond kind of malts, a little bit of ashiness. I got a little threshold tarry flavor in the flavor for this. I got in the nose, there was a hint of bourbon and a low wood aroma, not a whole lot. I got maybe a little touch of oxidation, just a real threshold bit of soy and paper in there, but not that much. I wasn't really sure how much of it was there, if any. Some toasty malt notes, a very clean ferment. The intensity on the aroma was kind of low overall, but I think mostly it's because it wasn't a very highly carbonated beer. Maybe a little more CO2 would drive it better. It was black as night, had a nice dark brown head. It didn't last long. It kind of faded to a bead, but the bead sticks around. In a beer this strong, you kind of expect some behavior like that. That's all, totally to style. Flavor, up front, I was hit. It was fruit and alcohol. Got me before any of the roast flavors for the flavor, which is interesting. It's kind of what brings on this sort of this sort of description of being almost more English in character, because that's kind of an English-style RAS. They kind of favor the esters as much as anything else. What's going on here?
Nothing.
They flavor the esters. There was a little bit of bourbon in there and that tarry, and then sort of that deep, rich chocolate comes on through the middle and the finish with some more darker roast hints. There was a little bit of bourbon, some wood, it's a little drying character, a little bit of lignans, maybe some wood sugars in there, kind of a slate-like character to it, and it just lasted for a long time on the palate. It was very well attenuated. It wasn't any leftover sugar lying around here. It was very clean ferment, a little bit of vanilla, medium-high body, nicely creamy. It's definitely alcoholic, but it wasn't hot or solventy or anything like that. The bourbon barrel ones or the bourbon-flavored ones tend to be really bad on that front. Sometimes they start over-spiking with the bourbon.
Yeah.
It wasn't really astringent. It had a little bit of drying. All in all, I really liked this beer. I thought it was a very nice, complex, somewhat more subtle than most version or interpretation of this style. It balanced out very well. Had some nice flavors in it. Had a reasonable amount of complexity. I give this beer a 39. I thought it was pretty killer. I would be happily. Well, it's not a session beer like the one we judged before, but I would happily probably hurt myself trying to drink that much of it. You said you had this in one of those Balcones barrels for about 3 months?
Yeah.
Yeah. I did pick up a little of the acidity Brian was talking about. Did you have much headspace in that?
There wasn't a lot, but I mean, it's kind of hard to tell, but there's some, and it was kind of curious. The specific gravity going in was, I know you guys usually ask this, 1.024, and coming out, granted I was extrapolating that from a refractometer, but it was 1.033. So
Yeah.
I don't know if something funny happened there, or if it was just that the angel share was running off with it, or what was going on with that.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. 'Cause, I mean, it's a terminal gravity, so it's hard to figure, because they don't read accurately with the alcohol. But still, that's a big jump.
Yeah,
that's really interesting. I mean, if that's an accurate reading, that's a hell of an angel share. I mean, you're talking about 10 gravity points, with whatever factor you have to throw in to fudge it with all the alcohol in there. That's a lot of change.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I mean, I've done a bunch of those little barrels with those. We actually got some of those Balcones barrels shipped up here.
Mm-hmm.
And I found, they work pretty nice. You have to be real careful with the headspace. If you have more than half an inch or an inch and let it sit there too long, you can get some real oxidation going on. Because it's such a big surface area compared to the volume of it.
Mm-hmm.
You'll really pick it up. I mean, I did an Imperial Stout in one of these. It didn't have a whole lot of headspace, and the oxidation was, just a little bit. And then I had a barley wine. It got down to about 1.5 inches of headspace in there, and it sat for about 3 months. And that was oxidized within a threshold of its life. It didn't have much room left to go. It was like right at the end of where you'd want to drink it. Fortunately, I got it then. But I think the headspace in those little barrels is something to keep an eye on. And since they're small, and you're pointing this out with that change, if it evaporates a lot, that headspace is going to grow fast. My experience was I actually was topping those barrels up when I was good with it, and like on that stout every month at least, to bring it back up and get rid of that headspace. Because the other danger there is if it's not real clean in there, you might get an acetobacter going in there, and that will definitely make acidity.
Oh yeah,
I'm not tasting acetic acid in here, so I don't think that's what you had. I'd maybe go back into mash pH in that territory for something like this. But I don't really know. It's hard to say. But those little barrels can make some very nice little flavors. The one thing I'm not sure about with these barrels is how long you can leave a beer in there. A big barrel, like you got a full-size 55-gallon spirits barrel, it left stuff in there for a year or more, and it comes out very nice.
Easily.
Yeah, with a greater surface area here in one of these things, it'd probably be leaving it in for a year would probably be the equivalent of 3 to 5 years in one of those big barrels.
There's no way you can do that. I thought 3 months was a little long, but clearly the way this came out, you probably could have. Well, I don't know if he could have gone a little bit more too, because there was kind of a tannic oak thing going on, and so maybe he just wasn't getting that flavor. And like Brian was saying, put oak. Brian said oak chips. I would go cubes personally,
or cubes. Yeah.
And then you can get different toast levels and do that kind of stuff.
I prefer the dodecahedrons myself.
20-sided die.
Well, the other thing is that stouts have got a lot of compounds in them to help resist the oxidation, so they might hold out longer than something like that barley wine I did, which was at its edge at 3 months. So you might get a little more grace with that.
I personally like my bourbon oaked stouts to be, beer oak bourbon, and that's what this kind of has. I mean, this is the only comments I'm going to make when I step in is on beers like this. It is a little light on the oak. I would love to see that oak, that caramely, vanillin kind of thing, a little bit more up front. But I think the bourbon level is fine on it. I think everything else in there is really good. So
did you guys let this age up or warm up pretty well, or
it's fairly warm right now?
It's It's probably at close to room temperature at this point.
All right.
You want to try this? You want to run down the base beer real fast?
Yeah.
You guys have any of it left? Yeah, you do.
Yeah. The base beer,
just real fast, little once over.
it's all right.
All right, there you go.
Yeah. Honestly, whatever you did in that barrel made it a whole lot better.
Yeah.
It definitely improved it. Yeah, the base beer is a little rough around the edges. It's a little harsher tasting, a little more astringency, and
a little more sour. It's got this big kind of grainy base malt note.
Yeah,
there's a sour thing going on.
Yeah, a little funkiness to it of some kind. It's I don't know if the thing that I was picking up as maybe some bread activity in the barrel was combining with the acidity, the lactic acidity that I got in the barrel version. But yeah, there's something a little funky in this. And Lee mentioned something almost like a kibble-like character from the
kibble.
That's not a word I like to use publicly.
That's a good.
There are some base malts that give a grainy character. A lot of people call bready or crackery. To me, it comes across like kibble,
like warm. I remember my babysitter used to make me feed her animals, and she used to make me warm up the dog food. And that now, when you said that, that's all I smell. So thank you for ruining this experience.
There you go. And our guest on the other end, who's done such a nice job with this barrel-aged beer, now has kibble applied to his base beer. I'm sorry.
Man,
I literally...
I've been searching for what's going on here for a while.
It definitely doesn't... I'm not trying to say that it smells like warm dog food, but the word kibble... It's really Brian's fault. He brought it up.
I'm sorry.
Well, no, I mean, literally, this is something I consider it sort of a personal quirk of mine in judging that I picked that aroma up.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a dog, but I'm very sensitive to that aroma. And whenever I bring that out to people, they say, yeah, it's kind of grainy.
I have 2 dogs, and I understand.
And for me, it just smells like that, and I don't know what it is.
It's not a polite word to use when you're talking to an entrant, especially live over the internet and the webs and
it
millions
like
of listeners.
Kibble.
You're an internet entrant, Curtis.
Yes,
but it's just it's a test.
Well, I was listening to one of your other podcasts, and JP used the word farty. Or maybe it was this or a session or something. So today I'll open them up and I'm tasting it, going, maybe it's farty.
Yeah, maybe it's farty.
Maybe it is.
Maybe that's it.
As long as it's not wienery.
I heard him say that.
Yeah,
it's not wienery. It doesn't smell like wet cat food either.
We're not talking about baby diapers or anything here today.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Real pets.
Yeah, you definitely don't need to worry that there's have any concerns about your wienery level. So that's good. Or farty. Either. God, I had a beer the other day that was farty. And I was like, oh man, is that me or the beer?
It was you.
It's probably both, really. Because I had a lot of that beer.
Yeah. Now, if you want to ever fill a score sheet on and say grainy, they're going to be asking me, what the hell did you really mean there? It's just me. Nobody else gets this.
How do you solve that graininess there, Lee?
For me, as far as I know, it's just use a different base malt.
Switching to wet food.
Yeah. Switch to the wet food. Then it's worse.
Curtis, do you have any questions? No, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, one interesting aspect of this was that I was kind of trying to up my efficiency. I was disappointed with my efficiency prior to this, and hadn't read anything saying, "Hey, you really shouldn't do that." And after my mash, I would just kind of leave stuff in the mash tun, and as it boiled down below where I wanted it to be, rather than adding water, I would add out of the mash. And I'm wondering if that sourness or that astringency, which may be perceived as sourness, is coming from that poor practice.
It's possible. To actually have an informed answer for that, it'd probably be good to know what the terminal gravity that's coming out of there was and a pH reading on it.
Yeah. Okay.
So if the pH gets too high at the end of your sparge, or if you're doing what you said, then you might start extracting a lot more tannins. More time will certainly allow them to come out, although the temperature's probably dropping in there while you do that, but not real fast.
Yeah,
it's possible. If you're worried about tannins, that's something I would not do.
Yeah, astringency. I mean, sometimes getting better efficiency can be your own worst enemy, and you're just always struggling for that. If you could end up oversparging and getting too much and pulling out flavors that aren't happy. I mean, some of the best brewers that I know just they'll do batch sparging, or they'll do no sparging and all these methods. They use more ingredients, but you're on a homebrew scale. You're not brewing 50 million barrels at a time, and so you can get away with spending a little more to make your beer even better. And
a couple bucks here and there. It's not going to matter.
Don't worry too much about efficiency. If you're in the 70s somewhere, hey, great. If you're pushing up towards 80, you might be getting a little more than you bargained for.
Yeah, a couple more bucks worth of grains, no problem. Just don't tell the wife.
Yeah, the story behind that was that when I did that Russian Imperial prior, I did a second runnings called it my session stout, because it came out pretty low, like 2-3%, and I did a bunch of cool experiments with it, and the base beer was pretty awesome. So I was like, well, why couldn't I just take that and pour it into the boil, up my efficiency? Obviously, the stuff coming out of there is not great or not bad. So then this batch came along, and I was like, maybe that wasn't such a great idea. I don't know.
Go back to the old way.
But it was cool because I've never that particular beer I ran out of, couldn't send in. It would have been cool to talk about, but I added sriracha to it to a 3%.
Wow,
session stout,
a 3% hot stout.
Yeah, it was pretty killer. We have a Vietnamese restaurant nearby, and there's a Vietnamese gastropub called Nobi, and actually the coffee I used in the breakfast stout, true breakfast stout version of this, I used a Vietnamese coffee from them, and so I think that was part of the reason it just covered up so much. It wasn't even worth sending in. It would have been like, this is awesome. You should keep doing that. No, I'd have never known anything better.
So did you make a black and tan out of that and some condensed milk?
No, but maybe.
Maybe.
That'd be
Hey, you
a good
got
idea.
a baby on the way. It's worth thinking about.
Yeah, once my wife's willing to drink it.
Yeah, Vietnamese
able to drink it.
Vietnamese stout coffee.
Yeah.
All right, Curtis. Hey, thanks a lot, man, for sending us the beers and staying up so late with us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. Thank
it's
you.
been good chatting. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Just shows you what a barrel can do. Woo.
Yeah, right? Especially done well. All right, fellas, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to, go through our little tips and tricks for everybody, and then finally get out of here. Sound good to you? All right, it's Dr. Homebrew, everybody. Stay tuned.
I-10, Getting tired of that same old handcrafted beverages day after day? Are you looking for something with more diversity than your normal beer? Fellow BN Army member Michael Fairbrother, owner of Moonlight Meadery, is reviving an entire beverage category, mead.
The meads at Moonlight Meadery are all handcrafted from the finest honey on the market and are perfect for any occasion, like weddings, baby showers, or...
Excuse me? Mead is not your average girly drink, mister, and Moonlight Meads can be enjoyed anytime, anywhere. Football games with the guys.
Yeah.
Barbecues with the guys.
Yeah.
Operating power tools with the guys.
Yeah. Actually, sir, that's really dangerous.
Good point, son.
Next time you have something to celebrate or are just looking for a new tasting experience, pick up a bottle of mead from Moonlight Meadery. Now in 21 states, making over 60 varieties of mead from dry, semi-sweet to sweet.
Break out of that craft beer lull. Grab a bottle of Moonlight Mead. Can't find some? Then ask. No, make that demand some.
Yeah!
Dr. Homebrew, please report to the ER for code blue. Dr. Homebrew to the ER, please. Oh, and your tea time has been moved to 2:30.
Now back to Dr. Homebrew.
You guys thirsty for a 3% hot stout? Spicy stout?
Sounds good.
It kind of does, but at the same, I don't like sriracha. I'm like one of the 1%ers apparently who everyone loves sriracha.
I have an apron that says "I heart sriracha."
Yeah, it's right.
I do. It's my
don't.
secret ingredient in everything.
In just everything.
Spaghetti.
Yeah, it can go on. Carrot sticks, celery,
Whatever.
chips, pizza.
I was like that with Tapatio for a long time,
Mix
and then
it with ketchup. Perfect dipping sauce.
I moved. I flipped from Tapatio to Cholula or Cholo or whatever it is. If you ever go shopping for Mexican hot sauce, it's incredible. Tapatio for like a 12-ounce bottle is like $1.39 or some insane price, right? The Cholula is 3 times as much.
Yeah.
For the same amount.
Yeah, you go to Costco, though, you can get 2 of them for like $6. So that's it in the large size. So,
Yeah.
You get the bulk discounts a lot less.
Man, I never dug on sriracha. I mean, I had a bottle. I was like, oh, let's try all this out, and just it didn't really swing for me. So I don't know if I like a 3% hot stout. I would just like that stout.
I also dig at the teriyaki places. You mix it with the teriyaki sauce, and you make a spicy yaki sauce.
Spicy yaki.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Right.
So yeah, welcome to Dr. Cooking Ingredients and
Dr. Hot Sauce.
Johnny,
that can be a special show
sauce.
sometime. Yeah, we do the Cholula Tapatio taste.
I would love that. We couldn't judge any beer afterwards.
No, of course not.
No, it'd just be all about. Well, we're already working on our spirits judging show.
Right.
I could just make that a Dr. Homebrew show. Who cares? Our sponsors would love that. Maybe not. I don't know. 5 Star might be going, I don't understand. How does this work for us?
What's the tie-in?
Yeah, what's the tie-in here?
Ship him a case of sriracha.
All right, let's give a quick rundown so we can get out of here. Matt, earlier, he had the... I'm blanking on the beer he
Session
had now.
Ale.
That's right, the
Mosaic.
Session with Mosaic hops.
Right.
And a few comments you guys made. There was an acidity there, maybe combined with a carbonation, wasn't necessarily a pleasant flavor. The gravity seemed not to finish as low enough as it should have finished. I think at 10-12, if I remember, and that should be a little lower. And then he had a clarity issue.
Yeah, it was hazy. My guess is probably some chill haze on that from the dry hopping and the Pils malt, or the golden Pils. Was that what he called it?
Yeah.
I'd guess that's what I would think.
Vienna Golden Pils from Briefs.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, the malt wasn't the showcase of that beer. It was that hop character, and the hop character was really cool. I like when I've had Mosaic-oriented beers. They've been usually pretty cool. Get some funky stuff. You're supposed to be able to pick out a little blueberry note in that sometimes, even in the background, but I didn't get that.
Yeah, not so much.
I got some of that.
But the big tropical, mango stuff going on.
I did get like a dry mango.
Yeah, we got lots of that.
Like the mango meat closer to the
mango
seed.
Meat?
Yeah, the meat of the mango.
Can you say that on air?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
Yeah,
sure.
It's the internet.
The mango.
It's the internet.
Like that kind of dry mango-ness. If that makes any sense, it probably doesn't. And then my close personal friend Curtis, who I've never met the man in my entire life, he had those wonderful stouts, the Bourbon Barrel-aged stout.
2 beers for the price of 1.
Right?
And a barrel. And some months.
We had some notes. There was a small sour note. And the oak, I think we all kind of would have liked to see the oak a little bit more present. But overall, there really wasn't a whole lot to give him feedback on as far as correcting.
I was okay with the oak and bourbon at a low level. I thought it was nice. It was a subtle version of the style. I thought that was good. Yeah, it's definitely not the oaky character you get in some of these, not the bourbon intensity over the top you get in some.
Yeah.
I thought those were nice.
I thought the bourbon level was fine. I could have used 10 to 15% more oak, but I like oak a lot.
Yeah,
that's the wine I drink, and that's the beer I drink.
Like you said, beer, oak, booze. In that order.
But for me, it was beer, booze, oak. And I don't like that order.
Yeah,
I like the oak to be before the booze.
Yeah.
All I know is I'd sleep well at night having a keg of that around.
Well, that's right. That's the flip side of all these, where it's like
the ultimate answer. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, but if any element of this beer had been changed too, it would have been totally different, and it would have thrown it out of balance. If you had too much oak, it would have covered up some of the subtle flavors that were coming through from that stout. And if the stout was way bigger, it would have way overpowered the oak and the booze. You know? So it was kind of right the way it was. It was nice.
I think that's kind of why it worked, because it had a lot of subtlety, a lot of complexity coming from esters, cherries and berries and figs, and some nice tarry character and all this other stuff going on that if you just layered over a bunch of chips on there, it would just drown it out.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, cool. Well, that's it, I think we're done.
All right. Should we make you sure of that?
That music there.
We're done.
That makes me sure for sure.
Coming up.
All right, everybody. Thanks for sticking around for Dr. Homebrew. I hope you learned some stuff. I know that I sure did. I want to thank Matt and Curtis for coming in, and, of course, Brian and Lee for coming all the way out of the woodwork from wherever they live in the Bay Area to come and taste some tasty home brews. Also like to thank our sponsor, 5 Star. You can get everything you need to clean and sanitize your beer and to make your beer the best that you can make it at 5starchemicals.com, or just ask your local homebrew supply shop. I think we're out of here. We're going to go clean up and sober up and hit on the rocky road. So, thanks again, everybody, and see you on the next Dr. Homebrew.